Okay, and we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel. Welcome to the Jeet Kune Dialogues, episode number 338. My dialogue partner today is a guy who we're only Facebook friends. We've never met in person or anything,
Hmm.
so you guys are going to have the opportunity to get to know him at the same time that I do live on today's episode. So, with that, Robert, is it Kerbo?
Kerbo. Yep.
Kerbo. Okay.
Kerbo. Yep.
Robert Kerbo, welcome to the Jeet Dialogues. All
Thank you. Glad to be here.
right. Okay. All right. Let me just make sure. Okay. So we're good on YouTube, and Terry Valor says that we're good on Facebook as well. All right. Cool.
All right.
Okay. So, in trying to find pictures for you for the postcard, I
Hmm.
said to myself, this is a real man because most of your photos are family photos,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not like mine. Mine are all martial art stuff, right?
Yeah. I was
So,
terrible going through training and everything because I didn't take very many photos. I didn't have photos taken of myself, so a lot of the
mhm.
photos that I do have were given to me by people, and it's
Yes.
just something I'm terrible. It's just I just don't think about it. You know.
What about notes? Like when you were training, like were you a big note taker or are you one of those photographic memory people?
I felt like I took a lot of notes, but then when I go back and read them nowadays, they're
Mhm.
just they're just one liners. It's like, well, what did I mean by that? I've got something written in there. It's like I have no idea. That was 30 years ago. How did
Right.
what did I put there?
Yeah, I developed actually. Let's see, Ron, my travel partner and good friend Ron Reagan is on here,
Hmm.
and so we've kind of developed a system that actually I developed with my other New York friend Neil Colliff, where we try to go over the notes that same evening.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, right? Because sometimes you go even a couple of days later, and it's like, what is
Hmm.
this word? Because
Yeah.
you wrote it in a hurry,
Hmm.
right? And the shortcut that you employed during the seminar
Yeah.
doesn't work
Doesn't work.
afterwards, right?
Hmm. A lot of times sitting there writing against the wall, trying to scribble it
Yeah,
down, and yeah,
yeah. Okay, so you are based in Tulsa, in Oklahoma,
right.
correct?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And you've been there since forever.
I've been here since about 95.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and if I let me check my notes here. So you're well, no, you know what? I don't want to talk Jeet Kune Do first. I want to talk about Ray McCallum.
Yeah.
What was his nickname? What was his fighter nickname?
Oh, I don't know because I studied with Tommy Williams more than Ray. Ray came
Oh, okay,
in, was
okay.
invited by Tommy to come to a school. Ray was from what I understand just out of Texas, and we were in southern
Mhm.
Oklahoma with Tommy Williams.
Okay. See,
And Tommy was
the
a
reason
point.
why I said Ray,
Yeah,
excuse me for a second, is because I recognize his name.
yeah, yeah.
The Tommy Williams name, I'm not familiar. Okay, so tell me about Tommy Williams then.
So Tommy was like a four-time, five-time PK world champion. He was individual champion in a couple different years, and then he was the like part of a team champ type series and stuff
Mhm.
back then in the 80s. And he lived in Ardmore, Oklahoma, which was about an hour from me. But he also, for a short while, taught classes where I lived in the small town where I lived in.
Okay.
And it was Tornado Tommy Williams, if I remember right. And he was one of the PK guys. You can still find video of him on YouTube and everything. Really cool.
Yeah.
Didn't realize what I had at the time when I was training with him. I mean, I was young teenager and it was fun, and I thought he was really good, but just didn't quite realize the caliber, even though we knew he was a PKA champion, stuff like that. So,
Right. Yeah. Okay.
and Ray McCallum came up a couple different times and would basically teach our class, and Tommy would do the same thing. He'd go to Texas and teach down there a little bit, but he was the only guy I ever saw that could handle Tommy. I mean, Tommy was just that good, and Ray
Right.
and him just to watch was amazing. Watch him spar. I never even saw him fight full contact in person. They were point sparring, but it was rough stuff, and it was fun. They were having a blast.
Let me ask you something about that.
Hmm.
Because we always hear about how Bruce Lee had a problem with the fighters, right?
Yeah.
Of like his era, the 60s and whatever. With
Hmm.
your knowledge and background of even point sparring,
Yeah.
wasn't it always rough and tumble?
It seemed like it. At least when you got up to like the black belt level,
Right.
brown belt, black belt level, it was always a little rougher.
Yeah.
and watching those two guys, I mean, they weren't hitting hard, but they weren't tapping either,
Right.
you know, and they were fast. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. See, I've always thought that, because even with like my smattering of a background in
Hmm.
Shotokan, right? In the training, yes, everything was no contact and what
Yep.
have you. I mean, they
Yep.
didn't even know what focus mitts were, right?
Hmm.
But when the sparring time came,
Yeah.
they would put the knuckle guards on for just in case,
Just
and
in case.
people hit right, but people would always get hit.
Yeah.
So I never really squared away that thought process of Bruce Lee's, if it's correct,
Yeah.
that that he had a problem with the sparring of that era, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So your notes told me that you were with Tommy for about a year,
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
moved to Alabama.
Yep. Yep.
And so now in Alabama, there's no PKA karate type stuff.
Mm. No, you know, in Birmingham, I just started going around. I got out there and I wanted to go start training again. So I started going around to the different Taekwondo schools.
Hmm.
And they were good, but they just weren't Tommy Williams. And I just didn't see anything that really appealed to me. So I just kept looking. It was like a lot of the cities. They have a chain of schools in the
Right.
town, and you'd go to the chain, and it's just the McDojo type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just kept looking around and basically just couldn't find anything. And then one day I went to this old mall. It was just one of these small malls that an indoor mall that had been there for who knows how long. And I get in there and there's a martial arts school in there, and half the school is a dojo and the other half of the school is a bookstore.
Okay.
And I walk in there and it's a martial arts bookstore. So I'm going in there and I finally find a section on Jeet Kune Do, and I just kind of camp out there.
Ah.
And the guy behind me, he's like, "Are you interested in Jeet Kune Do?"
Uh,
And I'm like, "Well, yeah." And I'm a little don't know who this dude is, you know, and everything. And he's like, "I'm the only recognized Jeet Kune Do instructor in the state of Alabama." And I turned around and I'm like, uh, okay, yeah. But in my mind, I'm thinking, bull. You know, I'd read
uh,
this article like sometime in the 6 months or a year before this that was saying that the only place outside of California that you could find Jeet Kune Do was like North Carolina or South Carolina. I think it was Bastillo that
North
had a school out
Carolina.
there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hartselle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hartselle. Yeah. So I was just like, this is bull. I don't know who this guy is and everything. But I talked to him for a little bit and got to know him, and it was LeVar Davis, you know. And he was running this school. That was his dojo, his Kune at the time.
Hmm.
And I left there that day. I went back like a month later and thought, well, I'm going to go watch his class. It's Jeet
Okay.
Kune Do. I'm super interested in it. Let's go watch the class. So
And then, so what year is this?
that would have been like fall of '87. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm trying to, I can never find. I remember. I know I have the magazine somewhere when Lamar first appeared in a magazine,
Hmm.
but I wasn't sure about what years that was. Okay. So then you're with him for how long?
So I studied I lived in Alabama for about 7 years, and I trained with Lamar for about five of that.
Okay.
So I moved in late '87. I left in early '95, and I got about 5 years in there. I had a short period in there where I was gone to the military for basic training, advanced
Hmm.
training, stuff like that.
Hmm.
So,
All
but
right. Now here's something interesting. What you said, that while you were training with Lamar, you trained at seminars with Zelo and Ted Lukai Lukai.
uh huh,
We'll get to Ted Wong, of course, but Ted Lukai Lukai, did Lamar bring him?
yeah,
To,
yeah,
he did.
yeah. That was a fantastic seminar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Ted was, as the cool kids say, he was the bomb.
yeah,
But he taught only JKD. He didn't teach any Kali stuff, right?
right. He taught only JKD, and he did teach some energy sensitivity, trapping, different things like that. Uh, I don't particularly remember him teaching Hubud or anything like that, but I would have been brand new to it. So I don't even know
Okay.
that I would have recognized the difference at the time.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've spoken to Lamar so many times. I don't think he ever told me
Yeah.
that he had
Yeah.
had Ted Lukai Lukai. I know that he had Inosano and Bustillo in like
Hmm.
1982 or so.
Yeah.
And I know he was disappointed because they didn't teach any JKD. They taught the Filipino
The
stuff,
Filipino.
right? But he never told me about that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Lakai would have been around 91, 92,
Okay.
somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man. Okay.
He was a funny guy. He was one of the next to Bill Wallace. I mean, he was one of the funniest guys we've trained with. Just a good sense of humor while training. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he had such a colorful background and what have you.
Hmm.
You know, with his dad and what have you. And he was equally skilled,
Yeah.
and was one of the first people to put the whole JKD and Filipino martial arts stuff next to each other.
Really. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, he was one of the first. Ted, if I have it correct, he made a video series. I want to say it was in like maybe 1982 or something,
Wow. Yeah.
right? And it was not, because many times we've seen this. We've seen JKD Kali, but
Hmm.
his video series was Kali JKD,
Yeah.
right?
Little twist.
Right, which was a little bit interesting. But yeah, all right. So prior to meeting Lamar in that bookstore slash dojo, what was Jeet Kune Do on your horizon? Was it on your radar at all?
It had started to be. I mean, I grew up in the '80s, and I wasn't like a lot of the Jeet Kune Do guys today, where they grew up Bruce Lee. They watched his movies, they
Right.
all this stuff. I mean, I was a ninja kid. I mean, I was Stephen Hayes and Dr.
Right.
Hatsumi and the ninja movies and all
Right.
this stuff. I mean, I had a small pile of like sparring gear and everything, but I had a big pile of ninja stuff, the shoes and the uniform and the sword and all that stuff. So Southern Oklahoma, there was nowhere to train that, but that was my thing. I mean, my favorite movie back then was Enter the Ninja. A lot of people never even heard of it,
Right.
and it's
Right.
like so in the late '80s, mid to late '80s, I started reading some of the articles about Bruce Lee and about Jeet Kune Do, and really
Okay.
started kind of falling in love with the philosophy and all that. And then when I moved to Alabama, that's where I just really liked what Lamar was doing and seeing what he was teaching and everything. So
Is Lamar as tough as he looks?
he is probably tougher than he looks. I mean, super nice guy, great guy, but
Yeah.
he's dominant, man. When you're training with them and working with them, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
he controls everything. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I met him in person in probably the early '90s here in Florida.
Hmm.
He did a seminar for Mike Lee
Yeah,
Canorak,
yeah.
and I met him. And I came away, I had read about him in the magazines, and I knew that some people decried his legitimacy and what have you
Hmm.
because apparently he didn't train at the time. He was like maybe self taught or whatever the story was.
Yep, yep.
But I came away from that seminar realizing that even if he was self taught, he had skill and knowledge.
Hmm.
And one thing you could never take away from him is his dedication to the
Yeah,
art.
yeah.
Can never take
Exactly.
that away from him.
Hmm.
So I didn't have any issues with him
Yeah,
as a JKD person at all.
yeah.
So yeah, because it's. I mean, we haven't discussed this, and I'll bring it up for 2 seconds. It's all stupid. The arguments, aren't they?
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I realize that more the older I get, the more I realize they're kind of dumb. Some of the stuff
Yeah.
we've argued about through the
Yeah.
years. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I did my Wednesday podcast, and then I put up like a follow up to it,
Hmm.
and I'm reading all the comments, and nobody understands. Probably because they didn't listen to it.
Yeah.
They just saw, so everybody's in a hurry to give you their point of view.
Hmm.
They're not discussing. Nobody's listening and then going. And one thing they never do, Robert, they don't ask questions.
Right.
Everybody knows what's going on.
Hmm.
Nobody bothers to ask questions anymore, right? Okay, so can you remember your first class with Lamar?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was it? Give me the
It
details.
was it was in a
Give me the
little
scoop.
it was a little community center type scenario. He's
Hmm.
teaching in one of the rooms just in the community center, and the first thing we do is we all line up and we basically open the neutral like a Wing Chun class, and then we go through various drills, Lin Saladar type drills, just standing there, chain punching, different things as we work through it.
Hmm.
And then we broke out of that and we got into more what you would consider Jeet Kune. We're more in the on guard. And we're working out of this on guard and we're just doing different drills, different entering drills, Lin Saladar, stuff like that. But I remember it very well because he had one of his top students was the one that actually opened the class. And Lamar was just walking around helping people, in particular me. I was the new guy, you know.
Hmm. What
So
was it? Was it frustrating, or were you like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this"?
I was more, I'm going to get this because it
Yeah.
was new,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was coming from more of a kickboxing background, so it was very new, very interesting, a little different,
Yeah.
standing
Yeah.
there in the Wing Chun type stance. I wasn't used to that.
Was Lamar wearing one of those loud outfits? Like the all yellow. Because I've seen him. I tease him about this because sometimes I've seen stuff where he's wearing like red pants and a
Hmm.
yellow top. You
Yep.
know.
Yep. I may be wrong. I want to say he had on just like black, like the black gung fu type pants, and one of the
Okay.
classic tank tops that was red with the yellow. I don't remember
Okay.
what the diagram was on it, but it was the red with the yellow. Yeah, yeah. And I
He won't mind us taking shots at him. Right. Um, what about your last class with him? Do you remember that one before you moved?
the last class, I remember the last kind of classes. I don't know that I remember the exact last one, but I was we were teaching once again in Birmingham, and by this point I was an assistant instructor teaching at his school and everything, and that's what I remember. Is
Okay.
kind of we'd gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I'm moving and everything, and just he come in and was watching and stuff like that. And then when I finished teaching class, I mean, we went and had tea at Milo's, and that was our common thing. There's a Milo's restaurants in Alabama,
Right.
and they're kind of known for their sweet tea. So we would go have sweet tea, and we did that two or three times before I left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so since you were assistant by that
Hmm.
time, was that part of the plan that you would, when you moved to Oklahoma, you would continue on that path, like get a group and keep going?
Not really. Like it wasn't something we discussed. I was looking at it more just from the family perspective. I mean, I had a young daughter, and all my family was back here in Oklahoma, so it was just that. That was my goal and everything. I was more focused on that.
Hmm.
Wasn't sure what I was going to do once I got back here because the only reason I really started teaching was I needed training partners. I
Right.
mean, that was my initial goal in teaching was I just needed guys to work with so I could have somebody to hit mitts with and bang around
Right.
with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, um, my first, two or three students here in Tulsa. That's all they were, and they were great guys, and I mean, stuck with me for years. But
Yeah.
it was just a mutual. Hey, you want to get together?
Well, I mean, it is. I forget what the exact Bruce Lee quote is, but there's something he said about martial art or even Jeet Kune being about getting together with a couple good friends and having a
Hmm.
good time, right? Something
Yep.
like that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so you have experience with the Mac dojos and what have you.
Hmm.
Have you ever sat down and thought, okay, could JKD ever get to that level of not exactly not like selling out like a Mac dojo, but could it ever get to the level where you could have successfully run JKD schools? Or do you think there's something inherent in JKD that defies that?
I think you could. I mean, I've always wanted to have. There's a title boxing gym here in Tulsa, and they have you go in and they have 20 punching bags, heavy bags in there or something. And I've always thought that like Ted Wong, JKD would be great in that environment. Like you could walk in and teach a really good class if you just had a room full of heavy bags. And then a little area off to the side where you could work one on one or not one on one, but you could have partner drills, right? in if you just set it up right, I think it could be done.
Hmm.
The problem is you just don't want to turn it into something where people think this is the ritual. This is you do this exact stuff and you're a Jeet Kune Do guy, and you're an expert in Jeet Kune Do. You should always have some level of freedom in it and everything. And that's always the danger in moving anything towards that McDojo scenario.
You
So
mean you mean that it has to conform and like everybody has to fit into the same kind of box? You mean?
yeah, yeah, you run that risk, like people thinking that the box that you create for this class
Hmm.
is all there is to Jeet Kune Do. And it's really it shouldn't be tied like that. I mean, Jeet Kune Do is more like boxing. I mean, we have a finite set of skills, but at the same time, those skills can be applied through almost anything. So, we Ted used to say 5 punches, 3 kicks. I can show you almost everything you need to know about Jeet Kune Do with 5 punches and 3 kicks. But there are people
Hmm.
out there that'll say Jeet Kune Do is only 5 punches and 3 kicks, right?
Right.
They'll limit themselves down and they'll think
Hmm.
that's the gospel, so to speak.
Okay. Well, you just made me think of something. So what is the title boxing club's success structure? Why what's their success?
So this place is more fitness. So they have the bags and everything else, but they're not really teaching any kind of boxing or martial art. They're teaching more fitness. They get you in there and just here's a jab, and they don't really even show you how to throw the jab. Just right
Hmm.
left, or I guess in their case left right.
Hmm.
So they're just working on the bag, and they wrap their hands and everything. Everybody feels like they're boxing,
Right.
but they're
Right.
really not boxing.
Well, what could we do, right? What could we do to sell them on, you're doing the Bruce Lee stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and give them good instruction. I mean, because I don't want to think that people are not interested in being taught well,
Right.
right?
Right.
So come on, you're the appraiser guy. Break this down for me.
I think from a marketing standpoint, like you'd have to go at it more like a boxing gym.
Mhm.
That would be the whole take on it. And there's guys around, I'm sure, that do this. I don't know any personally, but that would be the approach is you run it more like a boxing gym. You get on YouTube and stuff. I was watching a class the other day that it looked like a pretty good boxing class, but there was 20 guys in the class in a small room just kind of working, and they had their drills. They would stop. They had the timer going. You could run the JKD class like that.
Right.
And there are guys around that do this a lot. They don't promote themselves like a full blown school would.
I just have one problem.
Yeah,
Are we gonna have to call ourselves coach?
coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I kind of live by the coach moniker, so it's like,
Really?
yeah, yeah,
I can't wrap my head around it.
yeah,
I really can't. I really can't. To me, instructor is what it is, man.
yeah,
You can't. You can. How can you be a? Yeah, I'm a JKD coach. Ugh.
yeah. I kind of liked it because a lot of boxing they it's boxing coaches, right? So
Right.
that's what I liked about it.
Yeah,
And
but that's the sport thing, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
So I
that's the
mean,
sport.
so if we do that, if we build the Jeet Kune Do schools, and we don't call ourselves coaches, are we again doomed to
Yeah, to do it. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man. Anyhow, okay. Well, we'll think about this some more, right? Because it really, in all seriousness, it's always amazed me that they're not enough straight ahead JKD schools.
Hmm.
It's got to be I teach this and this and this and Jeet Kune Do,
Yeah.
which to me doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
Because if you teach Jeet Kune Do, everything else is kind of a subsidiary of that.
Yeah.
Everything else is supposed to be influenced by
Hmm.
JKD, right? So anyhow, but that's a different conversation for a different time, right? So you got a group of guys together
Hmm.
and you started doing your thing,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And how did that go?
It went good. I mean, like I said, I was always more interested in training partners,
Right.
and so I always had the garage class, the small community center class, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And through the years, I've worked with a lot of guys now, and some of my guys have been with me for 20 years, and we still get together despite my medical issues and different things like that. We still get together. We still train as best we can. You know,
Yeah. Did you appoint a successor?
no, no. They, so my guys, I encourage them. We haven't been overly successful at this, but I look at each one of them as kind of when they get to a certain point, it's like you go out and start your class. And then, like, once a month, we'll have a seminar or something like that. We try to all come back together.
Hmm.
And, like, I work with my guys, but they have their guys that they work with
Right.
as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
We just kind of spider web out.
Right.
And
What would be your criteria? Like, how would you be able to identify this guy has reached the point where he could go out and do his own thing?
there's a point where people take ownership of what they're doing. I like guys who can explain Jeet Kune theory, who can explain Bruce Lee quotes. I'm kind of just threw it out a little bit there, but like they can really explain the theory without quoting Bruce Lee, right? I
Yes.
mean, 'cause you come up with some guy and it's explain non-telegraphic motion to you, and they can recite the Tao exactly, but they can't explain it in their own words.
Right.
And so I like the guys that they've taken ownership of this and they really understand it. They can get in there and explain different theories, and it makes sense. They can show you how to apply things, and they're not quoting the Tao every other sentence. Or Bruce Lee said this or Bruce Lee said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. What do you make of the people who are impressed by people who can do
I just hope they move on up sometime. Come on,
that?
and get into it, learn it,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. Um, we talked about this with my little group up to last night, right? It's that you and I probably would not be sitting there on a Friday evening, uh, let's see, 40, no, 52 years almost to the day that Bruce Lee died.
Hmm.
If he had not died prematurely,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I think that the one reason why, like, I've been invited in recent weeks to join a number of Bruce Lee Facebook groups.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were so many.
Yeah.
I really didn't know. But it's amazing how it's just dedicated to the worship of Bruce Lee.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know that there were more groups like that than there were groups who argued about him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And I'm still trying to find the group the Facebook group that is strictly about the training.
we there was a group of us, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago that had our own little Jeet Kune mastermind group. It was a Ted Wong group, and
Who was in it?
found
Anybody I
it.
know?
It was myself, Kip Brockett, Mike Gittleson, Mike Rudder, and one or two others,
Okay.
and it was the most boring.
I didn't expect that. I didn't
It's
expect that.
because we didn't want to talk politics, right? So
Right.
we didn't talk about other groups, we didn't talk about politics, but outside of that, we all agreed on everything. So it's like, what do you talk about? I mean, and
Yeah.
and it was fun at first, but it's like, well, okay, has anybody posted anything today? Nope, nope. Somebody would say, "What do you think about this?" Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
That's hilarious. But that
Mhm.
is a reality, isn't
That's
it?
a reality. Yeah.
Because I mean, even on TV, the
Hmm.
controversy sells, right?
Yep.
If
Yep.
it if what's the saying? If it bleeds, it leads,
Uh huh.
right?
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert, that's pretty insightful.
You
Yeah.
think about it. I mean, you've got to have a little bit of controversy there just to make it interesting.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Um, Kip Brockett, that's a name that I recognize. I know
hmm,
I recognize Mike Rudder for sure.
yep,
Gittleson, however, now
yeah,
he's an interesting little fella,
hmm,
right? He's an interesting little fella. I mean, he's got the movement down.
yeah,
You know, he's a literal whippersnapper of a guy,
hmm,
right? I really I like looking at him, and some of the stuff that he does, and he seems real smart, and he's got a good sense of humor, if I remember
yep,
correctly,
yep,
right?
yep,
See that, yeah, that's a fun guy to be around,
hmm,
right? You know, and I wish that the so-called warring factions, right, could just recognize that in each other
yeah,
and then just get together.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Now you said something, another interesting thing about the war. You said the
hmm,
market apparently is there to support both ideas,
both sides.
right?
Yeah, I'm a real estate appraiser by trade. That's what I do, and so we're always studying how the market reacts to stuff,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really matter like what I believe or agree or disagree with. It's what does the market say? If on a particular like on an appraisal of a house, what does the market tell me the value of that house is?
Right.
And that's something that when you look at original Jeet Kune Do or Jeet Kune Do concepts, the market has largely accepted both. And if you go back to a point where there wasn't much original Jeet Kune Do out there, that's what brought it back. It was really this kind of market idea that the original stuff had almost disappeared, had
Hmm.
almost completely gone away, and this kind of public outcry, public demand brought it back. And
Hmm.
we're largely in equilibrium now. We still have the arguments on the internet and all that stuff, but we're all getting along pretty good, and it's pretty well balanced out, right?
Yeah.
Um, you really, I think, if for some reason the concept side of it started going away, the market would bring it back, or the public would bring it back. Is probably a better way to put it.
Mm.
They would bring it back into existence. It doesn't really matter like what I agree with or disagree with at times.
Do you have a definition for the difference between the two? Like if somebody said, "Well,
Yeah,
explain to me what original Jeet Kune Do is, and then explain to me what Jeet Kune Do concepts is."
yeah. For the simple definition, I just say that original Jeet Kune Do is what Bruce Lee actually taught in person while he was alive. If you went to him and paid him to teach you Jeet Kune Do, this is what you would get,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much my working definition of it.
Hmm.
And I recognize that a lot of times what Bruce Lee taught in person versus what he wrote about, like in liberate yourself in classical martial arts and stuff, they don't always mesh,
Right.
right? I mean, because Bruce Lee definitely taught a structure and everything, but some of the stuff you see in the Tao and some of the other writings and stuff that you see, they contradict,
Hmm.
right? Because
Hmm.
he's teaching a curriculum, and the schools were based on a curriculum, but you get this philosophy going with it, these concepts, these principles, particular concepts, right? Then they don't always mesh because people learn the curriculum, but then they're what about all this other stuff, or vice versa? They're taking all these martial arts, putting them together based on their concepts, but what about this original curriculum? He definitely taught something here.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. What do you make if you do a deep consideration of Bruce Lee's conflict? I mean, if he's teaching something, but then he talks about it differently, right, from how he teaches
yeah.
it. What do you make of that?
So I think it was more audience based. Like if he's talking to a guy that was in traditional karate,
Hmm.
and this guy's just eat up with it and just doesn't seem to be progressing and becoming better or anything like that, then he's going to talk to him about freedom in martial arts, right? He's going to talk to him about breaking those shackles, so to speak, and getting out of that constant routine of what a traditional art is, right? But
Mm.
if he's talking to somebody more like a boxer and everything, he may not do that, right? I mean, that freedom concept may not even come up as much.
Mm.
Does that make
Robert,
sense? Yeah.
Was Bruce Lee a marketer?
Probably. I think he was dang good at
Well,
selling himself.
he was a salesman for sure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I sent, it was probably on one of those Bruce Lee hero pages that caught my eye. And I think they were saying, now I can't remember, but I sent them a screenshot from a European documentary. I
Hmm.
forget what the name of it is, but they interviewed Linda Lee, and she was sat in front of Bruce Lee's in front of the original bookshelves.
Hmm.
And so from time to time, the camera would pan away to the bookshelf. And there
Yeah.
was this one particular shelf that had titles like "How a Salesman Can Increase His Sales,"
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The secret to competitive selling, or whatever,
Yeah.
And I thought, but right there also, you have the section on different religions of the world.
Hmm.
Then you had the sections on filmmaking and directing,
Yeah.
and then of course, you had the martial arts sections, which is probably the biggest section. But then you also had the self improvement and
Hmm.
wealth stuff, the
Hmm.
Napoleon Hill stuff, right? The power of positive thinking stuff, Norman Vincent Peale, all of
Yeah.
this, you
Yeah.
know. Um, what has knowing that type of stuff about Bruce Lee, has that ever factored into how you pass on the art and the knowledge of the art?
It's definitely played a role. Mike Gittleson and I were talking one time that we're never going to be able to really perpetuate Ted Wong's version of Jeet Kune Do if we're only teaching two or three guys at a time, right? Because I
Okay.
mean, when you look at the percentages, I don't know what the number is, but you need at least so many guys, and out of that many guys, only one of them is really going to be interested in teaching. And out of those that are interested in teaching, only so many are going to be successful at it. And
Hmm.
when you're teaching, five guys in your backyard, what are the odds of perpetuating something like that? One of my students and I, we always have kind of this philosophical argument about Ted Wong recruited all the wrong guys to perpetuate his teachings.
Right.
And the reason is they're all like me. They have professions in something else other than martial arts.
Right.
And we're true martial artists in the sense that it's not just a hobby, but we're not the guys that are out there trying to sell it. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
exceptions to it. I mean, Richard Torres is great at presenting himself and selling what he does
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of us aren't. I mean, a lot of us are just we're perfectly content to teach our small little groups
Yeah.
and do our thing. But we need to be more the salesman, and that's probably true for a lot more than just Ted Wong guys. I mean, that's everybody across the board. If
Hmm.
you really want to push Jeet Kune Do, you have to figure out how to sell it to the public.
Well,
And
especially in an era where the founder has been dead for 5 decades,
yeah,
so
yeah,
there are generations of people now who the name's not that
yeah.
familiar
Mm-hmm.
anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we definitely have to do a bigger and better job
Yeah.
of, you know making him relevant, not even keeping him relevant, but making him relevant. But I
Mm-hmm.
think one inroad is the fact that everybody knows about the UFC and MMA,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's a high percentage of MMA fighters that credit Bruce Lee,
Bruce Lee. Mm-hmm.
right, as being
Mm-hmm.
an influence. So somehow, somewhere, right, we got to be able to tap into that,
Mm-hmm.
and position it such as, well, so and so, and we call out a name that they're very familiar
Yeah.
with,
Yep.
credits Bruce Lee with this, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
here to teach you the Bruce Lee stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that.
I've gotten where whenever I talk to a new student or just talking to somebody on the street that might potentially want to come train or something, like I don't really even mention Ted at first. And I'll mention Bruce Lee just to see if I get a response.
Okay.
But I see that as part of my responsibility is after I get them in the class, then that's how they learn who Ted Wong is. That's how they learn who Bruce Lee was
Hmm.
and Brandon Lee to a lesser extent. I mean, you start educating them on that, and hopefully they can fall in love with Jeet Kune Do like I did years
Hmm.
ago. You
Yeah.
know, but that's to me that's part of this generation's responsibility is we've got to kind of educate them about what came before us.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, this happened to me a couple of days ago. So a guy who trained with me in 2008 brought his 14-year-old daughter
Hmm.
to start training with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you had that, like the second generation come to you?
Not as much. I tend to teach guys that are probably 30 plus, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 I've got a few guys in their 20s, but none of the young guys.
Yeah. Well, those young guys, that's why I'm glad I do the Filipino martial arts stuff too, because I got two big sticks for them.
Yeah.
Right. Um, so okay, so we have to talk about so break it down for me, because this is the part of your notes that I remember, that at one point you said to Ted Wong that you were switching over
Uh-huh.
to his
Yeah.
curriculum. Okay, so
Yeah.
I want to say, so it's a switch from what to what, and what's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah. So, when the first time I trained with Ted was in like 92, and that was in Alabama with Lamar. But when I moved to Tulsa, I got lucky. Ted came to Tulsa pretty much every year, sometimes twice a year. And then I started following him around to Kansas City and Texas and different places, Arkansas with Rodney Hitchcock, stuff like that. And coming from Lamar and coming from Tommy Williams, the kickboxer and
Hmm.
stuff, I mean, Ted didn't impress me that much when I first started training with them. I mean, especially coming from Lamar because I was all about the trapping. I was all
Right.
about center line control, trapping, crashing the line, getting in hard and fast, right?
Hmm.
And then Ted, I thought he was good, but it just didn't impress me right away. Lamar's curriculum is huge.
Yeah.
So when I moved to Oklahoma, I started trying to teach what he taught, everything,
Yeah.
but I was only doing it like 1 or 2 nights a week, and there just wasn't enough there. So I started streamlining. I said that backwards, but I started streamlining my curriculum down, and I started paying more attention to what Ted did. And as time went, I just got to where I was super impressed with Ted. Um,
Because of.
Yeah, a lot of it's the simplicity. He is more like a boxer, kickboxer. I mean, it's Jeet Kune Do, but he really understands how the refinement process works.
Right.
And I was watching this and realizing that's Jeet Kune Do. To me, that was where Bruce Lee was going when he died. Was he was really in this whole streamlining process, this whole refinement process,
Hmm.
and Ted was lucky enough to be around for all that.
Right.
And Lamar, I love his curriculum. I mean, if there's something that he believes is Jeet Kune Do, he's going to teach it. And I mean, and Ted's on the is on the other end where he's really about simplifying and teaching exactly where he thought Bruce Lee was going and what Bruce Lee did at the time he died.
Right.
And so it was two different things. You got this one guy that's teaching everything that he possibly can, and you got the other guy that's really trying to teach the essence of it. This is what Bruce Lee was doing 1972, 73 type.
Right.
Yeah.
But from what I read,
Uh-huh.
so to speak, about you, you're not saying that, like you just said, Ted Wong is more of like the kickboxing,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you're not saying there's no refinement process in trapping and grappling,
Right, right. I'm not saying
right?
that there's not. Yeah,
Right.
there's the refinement process is all there,
Yeah.
and like even if you train with Lamar, who teaches a huge curriculum, right? You're He's still teaching you to refine your own personal game.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, I think that, see, that right there, the fact that on the one hand there could be a huge curriculum that still emphasizes the refinement process,
Hmm.
and then there can be a smaller curriculum which also emphasizes the refinement process. That's our inherent problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's so hard to just no. It's just this. No, it's not. It's
Uh-huh.
this. And
Uh-huh. You start looking around, and I mean, so many of the original students have so much to offer, but there's differences between them, and it's like, so where do you draw the line? Where do you stop? What's your personal line in the sand? I mean,
hmm
that that is something that a lot of students, like, you get caught in a camp, and if you buy into that camp, like, you may be stuck there mentally forever. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
um I'm pretty grateful because I feel like I have almost like two different versions of Jeet Kune Do. I mean, Lamar taught me centerline control. He taught me how to crash and how to really bridge the gap, get inside hard and fast, that kind of thing. Ted taught me timing, rhythm, angles, and all
hmm
this. I mean,
hmm
One of Ted's favorite quotes was, "True refinement seeks simplicity."
Right.
And a lot of times I like to flip that around and say, "True simplicity seeks refinement."
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
simplicity by itself is boring, you know? So how do you keep simplicity from getting boring? Well, you take it through the refinement process.
hmm
And that's a lot of what we try to do in our group is we're always working on how can I minimize my movement in a punch, but still sustain the same amount of power, right? How can I bridge the gap but still stay under his reaction time?
Yeah.
So we're always looking at these refinement processes. I mean, can I bridge that gap and do it faster than he can react? And
hmm
then can I lengthen that distance? Ted always talked about that. Jeet Kune Do fights from out here. And it's not that we're long range fighters, it's that we're trying to extend that distance so that we're always under his reaction time, but we're farther away. So we're moving faster than he can react, but we're also outside of his reach. And that's our goal, right? We can't
Yeah.
all do it. And as we get older, that distance starts shortening back down. But that's what we're looking for.
hmm Yeah. It continues to fascinate me because I have a foot in it on either side of the fence, right? I mean, I've been with
Hmm.
Dan and Asano
Yeah.
for 40 years and what have you, and so I have to come to his defense when people say stuff which is being passed down from wherever it came from, right?
Right.
And it's untrue. But let me ask you this because it's something that I have been thinking a lot about recently. With the introduction of the multiple arts,
Hmm.
okay, do you think it's possible that the people who just embrace the idea of multiple arts that they lost a little bit of that simplicity at stuff like simplicity or even refinement process?
I think so in a lot of ways. I mean, it kind of depends on who their teacher was, but
Mhm.
at it, a lot of the guys that I've worked with that come from that background had a collection attitude. I mean,
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
they're collecting arts and technique and stuff like this, and they're literally a jack of all trades, right? I mean, they may not be very good at any one particular thing,
Yeah.
and something that Ted taught me, but Joe Lewis probably put better was, I have five techniques. I mean, he won his championships basically with five techniques.
He sucked. Bill Wallace won his championships with three.
Three, yeah, yeah. And it's that kind of thing that you see these guys, and I get it, it's fun, right? I mean, I train multiple martial arts and stuff. I mean, most of what most people know about me is Jeet Kune Do, but I train multiple martial arts and everything, and it's a lot of fun to go around and see like what they got that's different, what you can add to your collection, so to speak.
Yeah, but that's
And I
not the JKD approach.
there exactly.
So
Yeah.
so something was not communicated.
Hmm.
Something about the JKD approach was not communicated while there was this introduction or exposure to this multiple training art thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I kind of missed all that. I came in basically right at the beginning of the boom for original Jeet Kune Do when it was coming back.
Hmm.
I never trained concepts
Okay.
anywhere. And it was just one of those things. If I'd have fallen into the concepts camp first, I might have a totally different attitude nowadays. You know, I
Yeah.
just happened to land in Lamar Davis's school and then eventually land with Ted Wong, and that's a lot of what forms my attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Joe Lewis. Tell everybody the story of the seminar with him where he asked people to raise their hands about
Oh,
experience or
yeah.
whatever.
95. They're teaching, the Radford type camps. They're
Uh-huh.
teaching one here in Tulsa.
Uh-huh.
And Joe's just kind of asking people, hey, do you do this? Do you do that? And he said something in there. Did anybody wrestle? Anybody do this? And I didn't raise my hand for that stuff, but he was trying to show us basically where he thought Bruce Lee was going with ground fighting.
Okay.
And it was all just theory, but he's like, here, I'll show you. So he gets me on the ground. I grew up in a small town. I mean, it was small enough. They didn't have wrestling or especially anything like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or anything like that, but they didn't even have like high school wrestling or junior high wrestling or anything.
Right.
So he gets me on the ground. He's got me in some kind of leg lock and he's like, bridge out or arch out or something like that. I'm clueless. And you can tell he's getting really frustrated with me. And it's like,
Right.
I'm sorry, but I didn't raise my hand for that.
Right. It was,
He's like, if you pick anything else, I could do
yeah.
that. But no, I was
It
lost
was,
at that
yeah.
time.
No, that
Nowadays, I
was
know what he's talking about, but back
right.
then, no way.
That was his own fault, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Tell everybody about your mukjong.
Oh, yeah. I had a guy call
Now,
me
this
up
is
one
not a
day.
Lamar Davis mukjong. He's got the best looking mukjongs
Oh, yeah.
out there, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is
And they're
not one of
great.
his.
They're tough. This is not what
Right.
it is. No. I had a guy call me up one day and he's like, hey, I'm moving to Louisiana and I don't want to haul my Mook John.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking wooden dummy, right? And then
Right.
he kind of clarifies, no, it's made out of PVC. So I drive over there and to his house, and he's like, I brought a buddy over to help us movement. And I'm thinking PVC, lightweight, and everything else. Man, this thing looked like a stormtrooper. I mean, it's like this big around. It's the
Right.
white PVC. He's got a white dome thing. I was sitting there thinking I could paint that thing to look like a stormtrooper. And
Yeah.
it's 195 pounds. It's made out of PVC, concrete, and rebar. And he had it mounted on a two wheeler, a dolly, to move this thing around with. And even with that, it took three of us. When I got home, I had to call people over to help me unload it out of the truck.
Oh my gosh.
And just big and awkward. And it used to, he had ball bearings mounted in the bottom of it so it would spin as you hit
Hmm.
it and did things
Hmm.
with it. And in the
Ah.
process of moving it, I lost a few. And then one day I just took them out because it was kind of weird and awkward and wobbly. Well, nowadays it rocks like a person. So when I come in there and I work on it or I do something with it, the thing will actually move and rock back at you like somebody. And it's got body weight type weight to it, right?
Right.
It was 195 pounds.
That's not bad.
Yeah. At
That's not,
first, it was just like, what am I going to do with this big old piece of crap?
yeah.
And nowadays, I love it. Like I won't get rid of it. So
I learned my 108 movement on a PVC dummy from Inosano in 19 my first dummy here in Miami. My good friend Ricky Amador made it for me,
yeah,
PVC dummy, and in 1989 I think it was, I had a private lesson with Sifu Dan, and that's where I put it on tape and learned it and what have
yeah,
you. So yeah, so PVC wooden dummies work,
they work. I love.
right?
I mean, Lamar used to have them big old piece of PVC with wooden arms going into it, and it was
Hmm.
amazing. I mean, they were
Hmm.
great. You could beat on those things all day.
I have the latest issue of original Jeet Kune Do magazine,
Yep, the
and he and
quarterly.
he
Yeah.
yeah. There's a new style dummy coming out.
Hmm.
Do you know anything about that?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an ad for it, right? I don't have it here in front of me, but yeah, apparently Lamar is up to something
Oh
again.
yeah. Yeah. He's good at building the equipment. That's something he's always been really good at. So it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see what he comes out with.
Yeah, yeah. All right. One last thing that I wanted to ask you about. is your health.
Yeah.
You've got everything under control.
Got everything under control.
Okay.
So in summer of 22, about this time of year in 2022, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, and it's cancer of the bone marrow. And basically, what the cancer does is it'll sacrifice your bones to make white blood cells. And I
Mm,
mean, it was eating the bones out from the inside, just trashing my system with calcium and other minerals from my bones. Um, at one point, I was so brittle that I broke a rib bending over to pick something up off the floor.
wow.
And I had been out before I knew I had cancer. I'd been out playing golf and like lower back hurt real bad. Later, when they did the PET scans, they come back and they're like, "You have four cracked ribs and a hairline fracture in your vertebrae." And it was an eye opener because I didn't really know anything was wrong. It trashes your bloodstream to the point that like you have trouble breathing and everything. And I was thinking like I was developing asthma or something, and was thinking about going to the doctor. And
Right.
one morning I woke up with my heart basically doing flip flops in my chest. And it wasn't like a heart attack, it was like it was moving. And basically, I had a type of atrial fibrillation, AFib, and went to the doctor. They sent me immediately to the hospital, and that's how they found my cancer. Was the cancer had trashed my system so bad, the electrolytes were all messed up, and so my heart was doing weird things.
Mm, wow.
And but nowadays, like I've recovered a lot, kind of going back to the wooden dummy. That's where I went back and relearned the Mukjong form, the
Right.
108 moves,
Right.
because my doctor told me, he's like, your bones will heal, but they'll never be the same. And I got to thinking about it, like when kids are growing up, I mean, they're always falling down, they're always banging into things.
Hmm.
And I needed something to, as martial artists, a lot of us have this background in like how to develop bone,
Right.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, how to toughen our bones and all this stuff. And I was like,
Like
I need to
Seafood Ted
hit
and the
something.
titanium knuckles.
Titanium knuckles, yeah,
Yeah.
knuckles of titanium.
Yeah.
Um, I needed something to kind of send that jolt through my spine because they weren't really worried about like the long bones. They're worried about like the vertebrae and the scapula and the
I see.
hips and
I
that
see.
kind of stuff. So I needed something that would jolt all those bones and kind of create those micro fractures in there. And like, because when that heals, you heal back stronger that way.
Hmm.
And I went to my heavy bag, obviously, because it's a pretty good source to hit. At one point, I had to have my son take the heavy bag down because they were too worried about me hurting myself. Because my habit is when I come through my garage, I'll stop for 5 minutes, bam, 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 and go at it. And so my wife had my son take the heavy bag down because she was just worried I was going to break my back, literally.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so eventually we put the heavy bag back up. I dug the wooden dummy out of the corner and just started working the form and freestyle form on it and stuff. But I made it pretty religious for a while because I was just trying to get that jolt through my spine, through my shoulders, through everything to rebuild bone.
Hmm.
Feels pretty good.
Okay.
They still tell me I'm fragile.
Right.
This cancer is something that's treatable but not curable. I'll have it forever.
Yeah.
And but I'm healthy now. I'm
Yeah.
back to training. I'm back to life, so to speak. So,
Yeah, but the doctors they don't know what kung fu fragile is. You see, that's
uh-huh.
the problem, right?
Yeah.
But and you did say to me that it's kind of timely that you and I are having this conversation now because there might be a movement towards you
Yeah.
formally teaching again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me and some of my guys are basically talking about getting back together with more of a formal class.
Okay.
I still do occasional classes with the guys and train, but we're talking about actually starting up teaching again like I was before I had the cancer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, if the recording of this dialogue, you can use it how because you're the computer guy, so you'll know how to get a recording of it and
Hmm.
chop it up and use it however you want. Feel free, my friend.
Yep. Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I was able to bring a little bit of enjoyment into your Friday evening, man. It
Yeah.
was great to meet
It's
you. It
been
was
great.
great to
Yeah. It was
talk
nice
to
to meet
you.
you. Yeah.
Right? Right. We'll do a follow up at some point in the future. Make sure see how everything turned out for you.
Yep.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you,
Robert
Dwight.
Kerbo. My pleasure, man. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right,
Thanks,
take care.
everybody. Yep.
All right. Yeah, see, that's how it works, right? If you don't know. Um, so I noticed that there were a few characters hijacking the dialogue again, namely Mr. Casey and the Fresno Shaolin, what have you. I'm just going to tell you right now, I do not appreciate it. If you come on the dialogue, freaking listen to what's going on. If you think this is where you get to carry on your own conversation, do your own friggin' podcast, all right? And stop that bull crap of hijacking the show, right? Okay, so you guys know the deal. Anything that you have to ask me or you have to ask Robert, go ahead and put it in the comments or send me an email at jkdrebel@gmail.com. If you have not yet gone over to the Facebook page for the dialogues, you can find it, facebook.com/the Jeet Kune dialogues. Like it and follow over there. Um, Show some love and support for my friend and colleague and student Wayne Quinton down in Barbados. This GoFundMe URL here, GoFundMe.me 03D3BED3, is to help her in her fight against breast cancer. The other podcast show has its own page as well, facebook.com/ the I Love Jeet Kune broadcasts, at paypal.me/unified MA Miami, paypal.me/unified MA Miami. The Jeet Kune Journey Volume 1 is available. That's paypal.me/unified MA Miami. The other Facebook page that I would like you to spend a little bit of energy on, hang on a second, let me move this one down and put that one up, is JKD Drills, facebook.com/JKD Drills. That's the other page. I know I've been promising to get this out there and what have you, but I'm a perfectionist, and unfortunately, that works against me because I wish I could embrace the whole philosophy of just throw some stuff up on the wall and see what sticks. And so a lot of times that delays me in getting stuff out there because I'm trying to perfect everything before I do it. But in the interim, go to the JKD Drills page and like and follow that one as well. I think that's it. If you're catching the show over on the YouTube, please like and subscribe over there. Hit the notification bell so that you know when the new shows come. And you can also become a paid subscriber. Just click the join link and it will show you the different levels of membership and what have you. All right. And other than that, that is it for me for today. Hang on. All right. Let's see. Next Friday, we're in town. And we haven't done an Ask Me Anything episode for July. So we'll do that next Friday, which is what, the 25th. Okay. I forgot to tell Robert that we might be, well, I don't know if it's going to happen. We were supposed to be in Tulsa with him in October, but I don't know if it's going to happen anymore. Anyhow, right? Okay. All right. So that's it. You guys, thanks very much for spending some time with me. Enjoy your weekend. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel, signing off. Y'all take care. Talk soon.